Hi, I'm glad you could join me in my study. Last time, we saw that the attempt to rule out penal substitution simply by definition was misguided. In this sense, those who try to eliminate penal substitution by definition alone are guilty of what the famous legal theorist H.L.A. Hart called a definitional stop. Anthony Quinton had argued that punishment requires that the person on whom harsh treatment is inflicted deserves that punishment. Now that might seem to make sense. Punishment would be harsh treatment meted out by the authority on someone who deserves it. But the counterintuitive consequence of Quinton's view was that it's impossible by definition to punish the innocent. And surely that does happen. We know of cases all the time where innocent people are convicted and then serve long prison sentences. And Quinton's definition of punishment would require us to say that these people were not punished, simply by definition. And as Hart pointed out, this just puts a definitional stop to debate. It prevents us from considering questions like, is it just to punish the innocent? Under what conditions would it be just to punish an innocent person? All of those questions are short-circuited because you've ruled out punishing the innocent by definition alone. And in exactly the same way, those who try to rule out penal substitution by definition alone are guilty of trying to put a definitional stop to debate about the justice of penal substitution. So, no less a philosopher than the late David Lewis, not a Christian at all, wrote an article on penal substitution in which he says, I hope that the reader understands. He says, what I mean by penal substitution is inflicting suffering on a person which would have been punishment if it had been inflicted on the wrongdoer instead. That is perfectly in accord with the doctrine of penal substitution as I explained it last week. To repeat, penal substitution is the doctrine that God inflicted Christ with the suffering that would have been our punishment had it been inflicted upon us, whereby we are now removed from liability to punishment. And that doctrine cannot be stopped simply by definition. We need to allow that penal substitution, like punishment of the innocent, is something that is possible, and therefore then go on to talk about whether it can ever be just.